And for more on this story, let's bring in Jason Perlman, who's a former advisor to Naftali Bennett and Israeli President Reuven Rivlin. Jason, thank you so much for joining me this morning. What do you make of the timing of all this? Why now? What is striking you about this announcement? Tell me, who's the US trying to sway here?
Well, I don't think actually the timing is as relevant as people are making out. What we've seen is a working group set up by the State Department has come to fruition. They've published their results, and the Secretary has made a statement. I think that actually we need to take a step back and say, you know what, we're in a political situation in Israel. We don't have a government, but there's other timelines going on. There's a Trump administration heading into an election in the US. This was an important thing for them to finish before they go into that process. So I don't think the timing is as important as the substance of what the statement is. So
you don't think Trump is trying to appeal to the evangelicals there in America and perhaps the right-wing voters here in Israel?
There's no point in him appealing to the right-wing voters in Israel. They can't vote in America.
Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, who's his close friend and ally.
You know, but we don't have a government here, so we don't really know quite where we are. And really, that's the sad thing, that we're not in a position to really maximise the opportunity from this. But I think that the working group's done its work. It's reported back to the Secretary of State, and he's made his statement. It wasn't a sole statement. It was a statement which included remarks about Hong Kong, about Iran, many other things going on. It's part of a much bigger picture, and the timing, I think, if anything, puts pressure on Israel to get on with ourselves and make a government and maximise this. And
of course, this is stirring some very angry reactions from around the region. We did hear from Saab Erekat there, and also from Jordan's foreign minister, but we did hear David Friedman come out to say that it may help advance the peace process. Do you see?
Of course it does. You know, the idea of a Palestinian spokesperson standing up and saying he's opened the gates to violence and extremism is just ridiculous. The only people who are responsible for opening the gates to violence and terrorism are the Palestinians themselves, who allow the Palestinian society to continue to promote this hatred and incitement and terror. What we're seeing here is an acknowledgement that the settlements, the Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, are not an obstacle to peace. They're, in fact, an obstacle to war. What do we see where we don't have settlements? In Gaza. That's where we see the conflict. What about southern Lebanon?
So you don't see this as being an obstacle to the two-state solution?
The two-state solution is probably long past in everyone's understanding anyway. That's already not a reality on the ground. It's understood that the Palestinian state, as promised, was never as expected by the Palestinian people. And ultimately, it's a recognition of something very crucial. Where Israel has communities, where there's civilian population, actually life is much calmer and there's much less terrorism and violence. Where Israel has withdrawn southern Lebanon, where we took out the Jews from the Jewish communities from Gaza Strip, that's where terrorism blossoms. That's where we see extremism, and this is a real acknowledgement of that the settlements and the building of Jewish communities in our ancient homeland, in Judea and Samaria, is really the best way forward for stability in this region, and not an obstacle to peace in any way whatsoever.
Jason Perlman, really appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much.
Thank you.